Just keep status quo. I mean, these groups have been around a long time and we depend on them, and they're there when we need them.
That's Clackamas County Commission Chair Jim Bernard voicing his concerns about the sheriff's plan to shake up how the county does search and rescue missions. The 4 volunteer organizations which currently respond to most of the calls on Mount Hood and surrounding areas might be in jeopardy. The plan to create a single rescue team within the sheriff's office has been under discussion for months, but the hammer fell this week.
If I were a professional person, mountain rescue guy or gal, I would be upset that the sheriff doesn't trust that they're going to do the great job that they've done consistently.
That's Clackamas County Commission Chair Jim Bernard disagreeing with the sheriff over the decision to change the county's search and rescue operations. Right now, there are 4 standalone volunteer groups that execute SAR missions for the county. Their certifications are granted by the Clackamas County Sheriff in exchange for their services. But Sheriff Craig Roberts' new plan is to create one unified rescue team within his office, selecting the rescuers and providing all the training and equipment. It's similar to how both the Multnomah County and Deschutes County Sheriff's offices run their programs. Sheriff Roberts says the decision follows recent litigation and the recommendation of a study done by his retired undersheriff, Matt Ellington. Basically, it would give him more control over search and rescue operations. In a statement, he said local response times and communication will improve with a single dedicated team. If a major disaster happens here, this will allow the quick deployment of SAR resources dedicated to Clackamas County.
I disagree with the sheriff's intentions.
But Bernard is not on board and worries about the expense and who will pay for it.
According to the sheriff's own report, it costs about $1.5 million. For personnel and equipment. And that is money that is basically given to us by these groups.
As for the current volunteer rescuers, many worry about their futures. Under the new plan, the number of rescuers would be significantly cut.
There's about 300 volunteers, and the sheriff's office is going to form a team and limit it to around 100, 150. So you're looking at 100, 150, 200 people that are basically going to have to find another sponsor or get out of it.
But not all the rescue groups are against the change. Stephen Corpy, the president of North Oregon Regional Search and Rescue, says the group is excited for the reorganization, writing, quote, "We feel that this change will provide improved structure, teamwork, and organized leadership to help improve our team's effectiveness during trainings and searches."